Alrighty. This is Tiffany Duncan. This is my technology infused lesson plan. The subject is for government, and the grade is typically in our district 11th graders, but sometimes 12th graders. Okay, so the objectives are students will examine the role and responsibilities of one of the three branches of government. Students will demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of how the system of checks and balances work, along with their understanding of how the Constitution is interpreted through the study of a landmark U.S. Supreme Court case. And students will demonstrate their ability to use technology to present their findings to be shared with the class by a presentation software called Prezi. Standards, I'll let you read through those on your own, but I did address the ISTE standards as well as the Michigan Civic standards. Okay, materials, you'll need computers with internet, textbooks to look up the cases, and then this presentation itself. All right, so the procedures for this lesson are students will read through the recap, which I'll go through in a minute, on the role and the responsibility of the Supreme Court. Students will go through the example presentation on Brown versus Board of Education to gain better understanding of the assignment. Students will then be assigned to one landmark Supreme Court case in which they will use Prezi, which has already previously been taught, but I've also included an online tutorial. They'll use this to create that presentation to be shared with the class, and then students will fill in the chart on the cases for the upcoming quiz. Alrighty, I guess I could be in presentation mode right now. Okay. All right, so this is the quick recap to familiarize them with the three branches of government and the role the judicial branch plays, as well as the U.S. Supreme Court. So, for more than 2 centuries, we've relied on the Constitution as the basis for our political system. It serves as both a practical outline for government and a symbol of our national way of life. Learning about the Constitution not only helps us understand the rights and freedoms we enjoy as Americans, but also gives us tools to defend those freedoms. And throughout history, many of those freedoms have needed defending. So we're looking at Article 3 within the Constitution, and when they wrote the Constitution, they set it up so that Article 3 established the judicial branch of government, the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, while leaving Congress to create the lower courts. It defines the jurisdiction of the federal courts, it specifies the types of cases that can be tried, and it also guarantees the right to trial by jury in criminal cases and defines the crime of treason. The role of the judiciary is the Bill of Rights defines rights and liberties in broad, abstract terms, and what the judicial branch has to do then is then interpret the first 10 amendments as they apply to actual circumstances. Okay, so this is where we're going to read through some of the slides that are going to help you with the project. So the Supreme Court plays an especially important role in our political system because it has the ultimate power to interpret or establish the meaning of the Constitution, and through the decisions, the court helps to define the limits of the constitutional rights and powers. Its decisions can affect our rights as citizens, and it has in the past, as you'll learn as we go through the different court cases. Okay, so the role of the Supreme Court. Every year, thousands of people petition the appeal of legal cases to the Supreme Court. Most of these cases involve a constitutional issue. They often involve a conflict over rights and liberties that are guaranteed to us in the Bill of Rights. Sometimes the conflict is between an individual or a group and the government. Other times it's between one individual or a group and another. So the role of the Supreme Court is not to retry the original case, but to rather review the legal decisions made by the lower courts. When the Supreme Court finds that a lower court's decision is unconstitutional, it can then decide to reverse that decision. And when the Supreme Court makes a decision on an issue, that decision becomes the precedent or the example, which all other lower courts are to follow in similar cases in the future. When judges are asked to apply the constitutional to a legal issue, they looked at 5 sources of information. So, one, they go straight to the Constitution itself, the text and the exact wording. The second thing they have to look at is the original intent of the framers, what they meant or were trying to achieve when they debated and wrote the Constitution. 3, the court, the precedent or the past decisions of the Supreme Court. 4, the practical consequences for society of a particular interpretation. 5, the basic moral and ethical values. And of these 5, the most important are the actual text of the Constitution, like the original intent and the precedents. Okay. So I did a quick example. I'm not going to click through this just because we're limited on time with this, but it is here. It is a hyperlink. You can click on it and go through my example. Okay, I'll click. But I just kind of set up, I wanted to really set the precedent for how I expect your presentations to look. You need to give factual information. You need to give background on the cases. You need to look at the constitutional issues, such as what amendments, what civil liberties, what things are really in question or being violated here. And then you need to give kind of more specifics on the court and the court cases, kind of really identifying the role that the judicial branch plays in our system, and also looking at the role of the U.S. Supreme Court. I need to know the outcome and then a summary and your sources. Okay, moving on. Remember, we're using Prezi to present our findings and our information. And again, this is our YouTube tutorial on how to use Prezi, created by moi. So, of course, it's super awesome. But again, watch this, and if you have any questions, you can let me know. But you already know how to use Prezi, so we're just kind of using this as a tool to help us really kind of master those outcomes and objectives. Alrighty. So, project requirements. One slide with assigned court case. I kind of just went through that. I'll do it again. One slide with background information. One slide with the constitutional issue being addressed or questioned. One slide with the outcome and the precedent. One slide that summarizes the role of the judicial branch and the U.S. Supreme Court. And then one slide with your opinion on the outcome and how that outcome has affected your life. All of these have impacted your life. I picked specific ones to assign to each of you that kind of would hopefully click with you and realize that it has impacted your life. And then don't forget, as classmates are presenting this, you're to fill out these charts that you'll get in class because you're going to really need to study them for the upcoming test on these. And if you have any questions, as always, you can talk to me, ask me. I'm here to help. Good luck, and let's get started on the project.